Hey there, folks. Today we're going to take a look at what's called Heavy Duty Challenge, which is basically a off-road truck simulator. And you may be thinking, of course, well, there's Snow Runner, spin tires, all that. This is different. This is based largely upon an actual event that generally takes place in the whole of Europe, but we'll go over that in a moment. But if you're new to the channel, first and foremost, welcome. I traditionally cover pretty much all things train sim for the most part, but Aerosoft, the publisher of this game, reached out to me and provided me a key to take a look at this, and that I did and was very excited to, so thank you very much for that. The developer, Nano Games, thank you as well. They're a small team based out of Poland, Krakow, I think, to be precise. But they've been working on this game for several years. They've got a few other games under their belt, but nothing like this. And this engine that this is currently running on is something of their own as well. So this isn't, this isn't Unity, Unreal, or anything like that. So it's built by Nano Games. It's published by Aerosoft. Now, there's supposed to be a full release of September the 14th, 2023. It's going to come out on PC, Steam, of course. I'm not sure about Epic Game Store. It's going to be available for consoles, naturally, Xbox X and S series, and then PlayStation 5 as well. Now, there are a few things to note, since this is sort of a preview, just several days before the full release. There are a few things I'll just go ahead and get out of the way that are not, I'm not super keen about. One of them is you cannot map buttons, and some of the buttons are a bit funky, so you're not able to do that yet. I believe they have noted that they intend to add that. It just has not been added as of yet. And I'm using in this footage here, I'm actually using my G920 wheel and pedals and Thrustmaster shifter, and it works good and well. It actually works really nicely, but the force feedback doesn't quite seem dialed in. It's almost like it's just trying to center the whole time, and there's no actual settings, if you will, or calibration to the wheel, which is, desperately needed for a game like this, because as of right now, it just feels like you're wrestling the wheel when it's in full center spring mode, and it's just there's no kind of feel per se. But I believe that's supposed to be added as well. A little bit later on, we're going to take a look at some more footage that's going to be from gamepad. So I played this bit here on the wheel, and then later on, it'll be on an Xbox gamepad that I was using. So both work. You could even use mouse and keyboard, WASD, that whole gig, if you'd very much like. And something else I'd like to note is it is track IR compatible as well. This is some great footage here. Driving through the sunflowers. Kind of got lost here. But anyway, so the game in a nutshell is an explorable open world environment where you can discover hidden secrets within kind of an open map, or a free roam, if you will, which is what this footage is of here currently. Unlocking secrets and finding hidden gates and things like that. There's little set pieces here and there that are pretty interesting to find. There, of course, the entree, the meat of it all is the championships, inspired by the actual, of course, in real life, Europa Truck Trials, which are a pretty interesting event. It's think of it like rally to a degree, but it's with trucks, big trucks, and it's a lot slower. It's a lot more technical. So it's kind of where it differs between SnowRunner. SnowRunner, is a thing of its own. That's not really motorsport per se. This is more motorsport. This is more like a rally game. So think of it like Dirt or the WRC titles, so on and so forth. That's kind of the best way I can think of to explain it. But so of course you're going to have the championships. inspired by the actual truck trials. There's going to be online leaderboards as well, so you can compete with people across the world, your friends, all that. There is single player, of course. This right here is in single player. You've got trophies you can win. You know, the whole shebang. Here's one of the gates here that we're passing. But this has officially branded trucks, 12 currently. I'm assuming they're going to add more because there are quite a bit within the trials. But there's damage and repair systems, upgrades, reinforcements to make things a bit tougher. And then, of course, it does have gamepad and wheel support. Hopefully, that will be a bit more in-depth. Getting back out onto the main road here. I'm kind of lost. So what this is you kind of search for these gates, and I think there's 5 on this one. And I am looking very thoroughly. Yeah, there's one up there. Yeah, I think it's the last one, actually. So this is an interesting game. I think it's a very, very sturdy and strong start. But there are a few things to note that could be improved upon, and we will, of course, go over those in due time. So here is what the in-game menu looks like, and these are the current trucks available. So you've got 12. You've got a nice collection of 2-axle, 3-axle, and 4-axle, just like the Europa Truck Trials. This is almost 1-for-1 for the whole experience, as far as I can tell thus far. But they are locked by default. Now, this build that I'm playing, I don't know if you're going to get these trucks that I've already got unlocked from the get-go. I'm not sure how that's going to work. This is just the current build that I'm playing on. But you've got your 2 axles, which are the smaller ones, can get into some tighter places. You've got, of course, got the 3 axles, which are like the medium size, the in-between, and then you've got the big boy Mega Chungus 4 axles. You've got, Avia, MAN, Mercedes-Benz, Steyr, Tatra, Unimog, Ural, Zeal, all kinds of officially branded trucks, as well as some of the maps, which are official maps as well. And then there's kind of these, I'll say just for funsies type maps, which are just kind of an open world or open map for you to just kind of explore, find gates. And there's also time trials on those as well. You'll notice on the left, you've got your credits, which you accrue winning championships and playing, and of course along with experience. So you need these things to be able to upgrade your present truck and then to purchase whatever other truck you would like to as well. I think I purchased the Steyr here a bit later on in the video. All right, we are on the move. So this is one of the things I like to point out as well. Again, I'm not sure if it's because of the build that I'm using, but there is no field of view, and it is near appalling to not be able to change your field of view. Now, I know, you know, they're building it for consoles and PC, so they're kind of locked down with certain options, but I hope we at least get a few more options for the PC aspect, because we desperately need a field of view. I'm using the Track IR, as I mentioned earlier, but it's like you got your face stuck on the windshield, and it's kind of difficult to see your surroundings playing this. So it definitely needs a field of view setting. And from the footage a moment ago, I'm sure you noticed as well how just up close the external view was on the truck. It is extremely narrow there as well. I'm hoping maybe this is one of the older builds and that has been corrected. Because they have been working on this for many years. I think they had a playtest back in like 2021, so it's been several years already, and they have updated a lot of things, namely optimization, which I've seen some video and some feedback, but the sounds as well. So the sounds sound pretty good. Like a lot of your idle, your ambient sounds going over some obstacles. You can hear the metal, groaning and the squeaking and scraping, and metal flicks, the kind of popping sounds, that's all here, and it sounds really, really good. That's something that I don't think even SnowRunner really has, to be honest, and I've played quite a bit of SnowRunner. Where the sounds kind of lack are the shifts. So you don't really notice any kind of change in engine note or transmission whine from the shifting. It's kind of just the same all throughout the gears. Something else that's pretty interesting is they've built this, pretty much just like I was kind of comparing it to Dirt Rally or WRC. They've tried to get this as close to the real deal as possible. So the scoring and the gameplay is as close to the real thing, the Europa Truck Trial, of course, as possible. So you'll see there, top left, I had to reverse. You get points deducted for reversing. You get points deducted for things like hitting the two posts. So you've got the green post on the right and the red on the left. I think if you pop one of those, you get like 100. All the while you're climbing and doing all sorts of things here, your truck is being damaged, especially if you slam the front end into a rock face or something like that. But it is a very challenging game. That in itself, piqued my curiosity and attention upon playing this for probably the first 30 minutes. I was pretty pleased. One of the big downsides, though, to the whole experience is, while this is Nano Games' own proprietary kind of in-house game engine, it's not fully optimized to what it could possibly be better optimized to. Now, for full clarity, I've got a RTX 4070 Ti, 12 GB VRAM. I've got 32 gigabyte system RAM. I've got a 5800X, Ryzen 5800X CPU, running on Windows 11 with NVMe SSD. So I wouldn't say that's like top tier PC specs, but it's definitely mid. And most games I have absolutely no problem with. It's bogging a little bit. You can't see the frame rate, but it was kind of flirting between the odd 30 and sometimes 60, depending on the environment that you're in. Now, as far as consoles, I'm not sure how it's going to work there, but by and large, consoles are generally locked to like 30 FPS. Sometimes you've got a 30 FPS option, and then if you want less visual fidelity, then you can have a 60 FPS option. I'm not certain how that's going to work on console. But there's some areas where it's really smooth, and then there's others where it does this sort of hitching, where when you're looking around, it's kind of freezing the screen a moment, loading in textures, or whatever the heck it may be doing. I don't really have a clue with this engine. But overall, it's a pretty fluid experience. It absolutely could be optimized a bit more. So that's some of the biggest gripes I've got with this. We need a field of view slider for one. It's way too close. You can't really see much of your surroundings. Interior and exterior. Exterior, like you cannot back up far enough, and it almost makes exterior view completely pointless. But other than that, it's fun in the fact that it's realistic, because they kind of force you to use a manual transmission. That's what a lot of these things use, right? So you've got your different gears, you've got your high and lows, it shows you your RPMs and your speeds. You, of course, have, you can just have rear-wheel drive, you can set it to all-wheel drive, you can set rear diff or lockers or differential, whatever you want to call it, on the rear, or you could set it to all. I remember this was an interesting section right here. So I couldn't get the truck cut far enough, so I had to back up and lose a bunch of points. But something else I'd like to note is I did not have the graphical settings maxed out. I very much would have liked to have done that, but it just wasn't in the cards. The cookie wasn't crumbling that way as far as performance on my computer. So I turned down some things, one of which were the particle effects, which I don't think were a very big deal. I turned those down one. I turned down I think I turned down the shadows one and the mirrors. So a lot of times mirrors can be taxing in games. It's like rendering, the game or the screen or the gameplay twice almost. So I turned that down one, and it ran, fairly smooth. I think on average I had about 45, and then sometimes it would get low to like 30. And then some nicer areas, it would actually, I usually keep things locked at 60 FPS. But I had quite a bit of fun playing this. I still am currently playing this. I've already put probably 4 hours into this since I installed it last night. Eagerly awaiting this, though, because it's, it's a little bit different. It's a challenge. You're not just building things and getting stuck in snow or mud like some other games such as SnowRunner. Of course, it's almost like that. It's almost like a child of Euro Truck Sim and SnowRunner, and then turn it into World Rally Championship or Dirt 2 or something like that. It's kind of hard to explain. It's just one of those things you got to play, of course, if you're interested and that's your thing. But these trucks felt really decent to operate here. They feel heavy. They feel, like they've got a certain degree of balance or lack of balance, if you will. The way the suspension articulates over logs and concrete, you name it. It's all really, really nicely done. The models themselves look really fantastic in this title. Alright, so this is where I switched to gamepad. So I started playing with the Xbox gamepad. I was playing with the Logitech G920 wheel. And while, like I mentioned with the wheel, it worked, the force feedback wasn't really there. It needed to be tweaked to a degree. But so I got a little bit of money, and I was looking around trying to figure out something to purchase just to check something out. And I think I ended up purchasing this Steyr. Should go back to any moment now, but these trucks look absolutely legit. If you don't know what this is, go and look it up. Go look up the Europa Truck Trials. It's some insane stuff that these things do. I mean, they are massive trucks. They, I've seen some videos of these things completely on their side, laying on their side, the side of the truck, rubbing the dirt, rock, whatever, what have you. And it's still pushing forward, trying to right itself up, climbing crazy inclines. Almost like here in the States, out in Utah, you've got rock climbing and stuff like that. It's almost like that, but it's on a much, much, much larger scale. It's fun as hell. The videos are great, seeing stuff like that, and then playing it, of course, which we can now do. It's, it's a nice little niche market, but we have it now. That's the thing. So this is the Steyr that I purchased. The models look absolutely fantastic. They look really, really nice. They did a hell of a job with the models, but the chassis, look at the undercarriage. If I could actually slow down my horrible, shoddy camera work here. Look at the leaf springs, the U-joints, the axle, all of it. All the articulation. You can see bump stops. You can see the rubber in the bump stops, being squished. It is insane. So they hit that nail on the head. I believe they even took this game to Gamescom and a few other places and had the actual drivers and teams from the Europa Truck Trials play this and give feedback. So I think a lot of that is exactly what it is. But it's got a lot of good going for it. It does need to be refined. I think the sounds could be tweaked. Of course, you've got the exterior view needs to be, you need to be able to zoom out a bit. Another thing I noticed is the trucks don't seem to freewheel. So what I mean by that is when you're not in a gear or you're not hitting the gas pedal or the brake pedal, the trucks don't seem to just coast or cruise. It's almost like the engine braking is too tough, if you will. I think that could be tweaked as well. To a degree. And then, of course, the interior field of view. Desperately need that. I need like 90, 80 at the very least, but 90 would be perfect. And then, of course, tweaking the force feedback for the G920 and a myriad of other wheels. I think the main wheel they kind of tested this with, and a lot of people did play tests, was the G29, but the G29 is essentially the G920. But it's got a lot of good going for it. On the other hand, it's got track IR capability, which if you've got that, you can use. If you don't, that's fine. You just use your right thumb pad to look around, essentially. Can use gamepad, of course, wheel. The trucks and the terrain themselves look great. Like the actual ground textures and the rocks and the foliage, especially for this to be Nano Games' own in-house engine. That is very cool. So that's definitely got it going. It's, you know, they didn't just grab Unity or you know, the Unreal Engine and try to make it work. They, you know, they built upon something that's their own, so they kind of know what they need to do right away, I would imagine, to fix things and tweak things. So the flexing and scraping ambient sounds are really nice, if you can hear that over my blabbing mouth here. But it's fun. There's tough challenges. There's a ton of progression. I drove quite a bit, and I only ever got enough to buy this truck, and then I didn't upgrade anything yet, because I think upgrades are primarily based on XP, whereas money is truck. But yeah, so it's got some good progression. It doesn't give you everything right off the bat, and it doesn't, you know, it's not like Dark Souls either, to where you're just never going to progress. At least for me, I suck at Dark Souls and Souls-like games. It's got some very nice maps. These maps and locales are pretty much one-to-one with the in real life counterpart. Like this one here that we're currently on is insane. It took me ages to do this. I cannot believe that some of these trucks actually do this stuff in real life, and you know, and people drive them, and you can't back up, and you can't get out, and it's totally insane. It's really crazy. But the maps are nice. The locales are great. They are legit. They don't, you know, the locale and geez, what's like advertising, things like that. I don't think a lot of that is precisely 100% due to legality reasons, of course. It is a video game or a sim, if you will. So, but by and large, it's basically the same as the in real life counterpart, and the modeling and the chassis. Just looking at the chassis and the exterior view, you know, the way the truck kind of sways when you slam on the brakes, the way the wheels articulate going over things, it's just nice. So here I'm looking at, of course, the upgrades I can't experience yet, and reinforcements, so you can beef those up. They do cost money, so it's less damage on the vehicle overall, because one of the trucks I outright killed. I unalived one of the trucks that I had, and it kept dying, and I was literally feet from the finish gate, and I was freaking out. I kept having to restart it, and I finally got there. So it's got a nice, you know, damage model as far as the components of the truck itself. The interior looks very nice as well, which I didn't really go over, but it's, you know, it's just kind of difficult to see with the FOV. There's a couple other views as well, which let you stick your head out of the side, out of the driver's side, or you could get in the passenger side, or look over kind of middle, as where's an old Willys Jeep there. Nice. You'll see a lot of little set pieces all around these maps, which look very, very nice as well. But this is a very promising game. This is right up my alley. I don't know if you're into motorsport or SnowRunner or whatever, and you want to try something a little bit different. This might be for you. I just froze there. Something about watching the chassis of a truck going over obstacles just does it for me. It's I like it. I like it. Bouncing around. So it's, yeah, they've got a good one on their hands. I hope they tweak it, you know, a bit to kind of get it across the finish line for some basic things that it certainly needs. But I'm very much looking forward to the full release of this, and I will very much purchase this when it does come out. But this is Heavy Duty Challenge, or HDC, a sim for the Europa Truck Trial, of course. And we'll just finish out with the rest of the gameplay here, getting through the gate. But I hope you enjoyed the video and found it informative, and I'll see you next time, hopefully. Take care out there. Bye-bye.